A very warm welcome to all the viewers. What do we mean by the word library? Usually the image that comes up in our mind when we mention the word library is that of a building that has lots of books neatly placed on racks and readers walking in and out of the library, taking books from the library and reading the books either in the library or getting it issued and carrying it with them. This is the image of the library and this is very prevalent. But this picture of a library is undergoing a change. The change is slow, but it is steady. The libraries as we know, or the traditional libraries as we would call it, has largely been print based. These libraries have for ages or for centuries have retained print based material, which is books, journals and several other kind of information sources. But with the advent of internet since the 1990s, the traditional libraries or the print based libraries are undergoing a definite shift. There are electronic material or electronic information sources that are now making its way into the traditional libraries, and many of the libraries today are hybrid libraries which have the traditional or print based materials and are increasingly having electronic material in one form or the other. So, when we talk about these kind of hybrid libraries that have both traditional or electronic material that coexist and the users consult both these materials, the traditional as well as the electronic resources to fulfill their information needs, it is not only the resources, but also the different services that emanate or that are generated from these print and electronic services that are used by the students or researchers or any other user of the library. So, in this program we will discuss about information services and how these information services are changing or gradually changing, I should say, from the traditional to the print traditional or print to the electronic form. Before we talk about information services, we should have an understanding about how the users, how readers approach information, or what are their information needs or how they fulfill their information needs through the different approaches that we are talking about. There are four approaches to information. These are the exhaustive approach to information, the everyday approach to information, the catching up approach to information, and lastly the current approach to information. Despite the medium changing from or undergoing a change from print to electronic, the approaches to information remain the same. It has these approaches to information have remained so in the past and are still relevant despite the medium of information sources or the channels of information services undergoing changes. Now, let us look at each one of these approaches one by one. The first approach to information that we talked about is the exhaustive approach to information. The word exhaustive itself implies that the requirement of information is very detailed or is in a very exhaustive manner, and the types of information materials that this group of users or the readers who are new to a subject would consult are usually books. So, books and monographs are good examples of information sources using which the users fulfill their exhaustive or elaborate or detailed information needs. The second approach to information is the everyday approach to information. During your course of study, you come upon difficult words that you might be reading or encountering for the first time. What do? You look up a particular source, usually a dictionary, which you do not read on a regular basis or which is not required to be read on a regular basis or which is not required to be read to cover. You need this information source as and when the requirement arises. So, this everyday approach to information, the sources that fulfill your everyday approach to information actually meets your specific information needs. In the exhaustive approach, we talked about information sources meeting elaborate or detailed information needs. Here we are talking about the opposite, where the information source is required to meet specific information needs. So, as I said, dictionary is one example, or there are other day to day information needs. For example, a student of science may want to know about the boiling point or melting point of a particular material. So, there are data books that help you to find the specific information you need, or there are yearbooks give you the happenings of during a particular day of a year. So, these are information sources that help you to find specific information that a user needs. The third approach to information is what we call the catching up approach to information. In the catching up approach, again, as the terminology here is quite clear, which implies that the user or the reader is usually coming back to a topic or a subject after a period of time. So, here we have some specific information sources of what we call the state of the art reports or trend reports, which give a brief information about what has happened during a particular year or a particular period. The fourth approach to information is the current approach to information. Now, this is a very common information need that is there among all the users, or just about everyone at all levels. The example of the recent or current information, if we were to ask what is it that one would look up, the answer that would come to our mind immediately is newspapers. So, newspapers are a very good example of a current source of information. So, the new information or the information that is breaking out is met from newspapers or the television channels. So, these are the current sources of information. So, in these four approaches to information that we spoke about, which we summarize here. So, the exhaustive approach, you have books and monographs. Day to day approach, we have yearbooks, dictionaries, data books, handbooks and so on. In catching up approach, you have state of the art reports, trend reports, and in current approach, you have newspapers. So, these are some of the sources that you are already familiar with. Now, these are documentary sources that one would find in most libraries, like journals. Journals are again a source that would meet your current approach to information. There are atlases, there are several types of documentary sources in the libraries. Now, libraries, other than storing these documentary sources, also render services which are based on the sources of information that the libraries have. So, we will also look at what are the different types of information services. The information services can be broadly categorized into two. The first category is the responsive information service. So, as the terminology here again implies, when we say responsive information service, we are providing an information service in response to an individual's information need. It is like someone walking into the library and asking for a particular information, and you are fulfilling that information need. So, in responsive information service, we have different types of services, as can be seen here: the reference service, literature service, and document delivery service. Some of the prominent responsive information service that information services that are rendered by libraries. Now, what do we mean by a reference service? Reference service is the most basic type of service that all libraries provide. So, a user walks into the library, there is a reference desk and there is a helpful library professional there, and the user can go to the library professional with any query that he or she may have. So, this can be a very specific query asking about a specific piece of information, or it can be a general query about I would like to know about the books on a particular subject. Now, the reference librarian or the librarian at the reference desk, or the one who is providing this reference service, may respond to the user. He may know the answer readily, or he or she may have to consult the resources that are available in the library, or direct the user to the appropriate information source in the library. So, Reference service is a very important and one of the key services that is offered by libraries to the user. Another information service is the literature service, usually a service that is targeted or is used by users who are involved or into their research activities. It could be a postgraduate level dissertation or a doctoral dissertation, or even a working scientist who wants literature on a particular topic. So, here when we talk about literature, what we mean here is the bibliographic details of documents or research papers that are available on a subject. So, this is required so that the researcher or the student knows what has been done in a particular area, what is the research that has already been carried out in a particular area. So, literature search service, the user can do this literature search service themselves, or they can take the help of the reference librarian and get the literature or the list of documents or the bibliography prepared on a particular subject. So, there are national level libraries and institutes that provide literature search service or compile the literature based on the user's information need. So, here the user has to articulate his requirement, and the reference librarian or the librarian who does the literature search modifies the query to cover all possible variants of the query, and then downloads the literature from different sources. It can be documentary sources or it can be electronic sources, downloads the literature and gives it to the user. The third important service is the document delivery service. We know that no library in the world can acquire or can retain every document that is published in the world. We know the information is growing at a tremendous pace, and the books, journals are growing enormously, that no single library can store all the information that is available. So, the libraries cooperate with each other. Libraries cooperate with each other at a city level, or it can be at a regional level, national level, or it can be globally. So, network with one another and cooperate with one another to meet the information needs of users. So, in a document delivery service, the library itself may not have the document, but through resource sharing, where the documents are shared among libraries. So, there are again tools to find out which library holds what document. So, the library itself may not hold that document, but there are tools such as the union catalogs which indicate or which tell us which library holds that document. So, once we know that, we can request that library obtain the document itself if it is a book, or can obtain a copy of a research articles, a photocopy of a research article, and can supply it or pass it on to the user. So, depending on the policies of the libraries involved, this can be free of cost, or it can be on payment basis. So, document delivery service is a very important service which can fulfill information needs of users in a remote manner. So, your user may be in a remote location, the document source may be in at another location, maybe in another country, and the library can play an intermediary role in acquiring this document from the library concerned and passing it on to the user. So, these services are have been there in libraries for decades together. Right from the very beginning, these services are common services that information services that libraries have been rendering. The other group of services is the anticipatory information service. So, in contrast to the responsive information service, in anticipatory information service, the libraries do not wait for the user to come in and pose their query or ask for their requirement. Here, the libraries anticipate what is the requirement of the user. So, there are certain services that fall under this category. They are the current awareness service. We talked about the current approach to information, and we talked about the newspaper being a source of current information. Here we are talking about services that can be offered using or based on resources that are there in libraries. So, current awareness service, which we will elaborate subsequently, and there are certain other services such as the condensation type, consolidation type, and the compilation type. So, condensation type of service is where information or elaborate or exhaustive information is condensed in an abstract form. So, here abstracting services is a type of condensation service. Many times the users may not have a lot of time to read, or it may not be required for the user to read elaborately. So, here libraries prepare digests, or they prepare abstracts of detailed information sources and present it to the user in a brief and easy to understand manner. Abstracts and digests are examples of condensation services. Then we have consolidation. What do you mean by consolidation? Consolidation means strengthening. So, when you talk about consolidation services, we are talking about collecting information from multiple sources and putting it in one place. For example, reviews are an example of a consolidation service. When you talk about strengthening, these types of services are require the involvement of experts, because the thought processes or thinking of the author who prepares these services also come into the reviews and other kinds of documents. The third one is the compilation type. The compilation type is more easy to prepare service. For example, annual reports. So, here we just collect information from different sources and put it together. We do not need to add any new material. So, annual reports are an example of a compilation type. So, these are some of the services that libraries or information professionals prepare in anticipation of information needs, without actually waiting for the users to ask for it. Now, we will now look at how these services are slowly evolving from the print to the or traditional to the electronic based services. For example, here we will see books. When you talk about sources, books are evolving or migrating to electronic books. Today, libraries are increasingly adding or procuring electronic books. Similarly, directories that we knew of are now becoming databases. Not only directories, in fact, even abstracting services are now abstracting databases. Journals, one of the fast growing information source that is rapidly migrating to electronic journals, so much so that in a few years from now, almost all the journals would be in electronic form. Then document delivery service that we spoke about, one of the responsive information service is now predominantly moving towards the electronic document delivery, and even reference service is now shifting to the electronic reference service, or as some would call it, the virtual reference service. So, when we talk about all these services, what we are essentially looking at is a scenario where all the services are based on the internet. With the emergence of internet in the 1990s and the prevalence of internet, it has become very easy for providers to render these services, and equally easy for users to avail these services through the internet. We will talk about in detail about one of the services, very important service, which is the current awareness service, a service which is required at all levels. As we discussed early on, current awareness service is a service that fulfills the current approach to information, and it is one of the most important services in the present information overloaded world. You might have come across terminologies like information explosion, information overload, and because of we require to keep updated with information, and the current awareness services provided by libraries can be a very useful way of keeping up with information. Now, traditionally, when we talk about a traditional current awareness service or the print based current awareness service, there are several services. One is the title announcement service, very important service that has been rendered by libraries, where libraries announce new titles that have appeared. They either display it in libraries or prepare it as a small booklet and circulate it among the users. Then there is research in progress, which is a service that is targeted at researchers and scientists, where the progress of research is brought out on periodical basis, so that the scientists and researchers are aware about what research is going on in different institutions, and the research is not duplicated. Then the third is the press clipping service, is again a common service that has been there in libraries, where the news clippings on an area relevant to the institution is clipped and maintained. Then there are notification systems and the selective dissemination of information or the alerting service, where the notification systems and SDI, where specific current information is directed or passed on to the right person. So, it is not a when you talk about title announcement or a press clipping service, this is a general kind of current awareness service, where it is expected that this would be of interest to everyone. But in the case of a SDA or an alerting service, we are talking about providing current information to the person or the user for whom it is relevant. Now, traditionally, these are some of the services that have been there. What we are seeing, Current Science is a print based current awareness service. As you can see here, there is yet another one, and one of the most prominent current awareness service has been the Current Contents, which has been there for a long time and has now wound up. So, all these services, the print based or traditional services that you just saw, have actually stopped, and it has stopped because all these are now more effectively delivered through the internet or electronic means. So, today when one requires any information, be it current or exhaustive or the everyday or the catching up, whatever we spoke about, websites are the first choice or the first source of information. Everybody tries to go to the most common search engine, the Google, and look for information. But then if you are interested on a particular topic and this appears on a particular website, it is very difficult for one to monitor several different websites. So, what does one do? What is an alternative? One of the alternatives is one can subscribe to email alerts. So, this is something all of us can easily do, and everyone today has got an email ID or an email account, and one can subscribe to alerts. Or there more recently there is this concept of RSS feeds. Today every website which updates information on a regular basis, or every dynamic website offers RSS feeds. So, RSS feeds and email alerts help you to stay current. Now, when we talk about email alerts, there are several types of email alerts. Whether we talk about a newspaper website or whether we talk about a journal website, there are different types of alerts that one can create. So, some of the common alerts are the topic alert, where you can you are interested in a particular topic. So, one can set up an alert in Google, and you do not need to search for information frequently on that topic. Whenever new information comes up on the internet on a particular topic, that information is directed to the user's account. So, that is the topic alert. The second is a search alert. So, when you carry out a search, you save that search query. So, every time you do a search, and if you feel that what you are searching for is important, so a slight variant from the topic alert. So, you save that query, and whenever new information comes, it is sent to you. Volume issue alert is with respect to a journal or a magazine, where you do not have to remember to look at the journal or magazine website. Every time the new issue is published or released, the email comes to you alerting that the new issue of this magazine or the journal has appeared. So, you can just go and look at the journal or magazine. Then citation alert is a little more technical kind of an alert targeted at scientists and researchers. This is when one would like to know immediately when one's paper is cited. So, supposing a scientist has written a paper, the scientist would be interested to know who has referred to that paper, who has consulted that paper, or technically speaking who has cited that paper. So, using citation alerts, one would automatically be informed whenever the scientist's paper has been cited. So, when I say cited, it means that particular work has been consulted and mentioned in the subsequent author's work. So, this is another type of alert. Then save titles alert here is again a variant of the topic alert, where you can save the title of a particular topic, and whenever new information appears, it is sent you. Now, these alerts are provided by different publishers or different journal websites. So, each of them they come up with their own terminologies, but largely speaking it has to do with a keyword or a topic that is stored, and whenever new information appears on that website, you are informed about that. When you feel that it is not required, then one can discontinue that alert. Table of contents alert, the TOC or the table of contents alert is a very common and useful alert, where new issue comes up, the table of contents is sent to you. This varies from volume or issue alert that we spoke about, in the manner that in volume or issue alert you are just informed that this is a volume or issue that has been released, but here in table of contents the actual table of contents is sent to you. Similarly, the content alert is I would say almost similar to the TOC alert. Some publishers call it the TOC alert, some call it the content alert, publication alert, ASAP alert, as soon as it is published. So, the journal may not have been published, but even as the author submits it, the publisher would let you know that this is now the preprint of this is available. Weekly digest alert at the end of the week. So, these alerts can be set based on the daily as it appears. As soon as it appears, you are alerted, or you can define it that it has to be sent to you only once in a week. So, there are weekly digest alerts and so on. So, these are the different types of alerts. So, in conclusion, what we can say is that the libraries, they hold abundant information, and based on this information, information sources, information services are rendered by libraries, and we are looking at a definite shift of how libraries are now from traditional or print based libraries. They are slowly and gradually evolving to the e-based or electronic sources, and based on this the electronic services are being rendered. Thank you.